So there were a number of things that came together by the end of the last decade, which had focused global attention on Brazil. And with that, we saw a lot more interest, a resurgence of interest in Brazil, which really had faded away during the crisis years of the 1980s and 1990s. And this provided the background, really, for the IRIBA project. And we were asked to look at particular issues within Brazil's success story, as it then appeared to be, which helped to explain that success story. So one of those issues, of course, was how is it possible to generate inclusive growth? What were the elements behind inclusive growth? And in fact, what do we understand by the concept of inclusive growth? So I don't know, Armando, want to pick up on that?
Yeah, perhaps the best way of looking at inclusive growth is to see how the standards of living and the income that is generated for different groups in society is distributed, and inclusive growth is associated with a much higher increase in standards of living and income for the lower income families than the higher income families. And Brazil was very successful in securing significant increases for low income households, which in the period between 2000 and 2009 increased at an annual rate of growth of about 8%, whereas for the wealthier families in Brazil, the growth in their income was around 3% or even less. So the fact that the incomes of the less advantaged groups in Brazil grew at a faster rate has implications for a reduction in poverty and inequality. So that is what is described as inclusive growth. It might be worth also making a reference to Africa, because one of the main the main interest for looking at Brazil is also to consider the influence of Brazil and Brazilian policy on other regions, and particularly on Africa. Brazil has, for some time, tried to extend its range of engagement with other developing countries in Africa. Brazil has more embassies in Africa than the UK has. And President Lula in particular was particularly active in developing those links. So what happens in Brazil is not just interest to Brazilians, and for those of us interested in Brazil, the Brazilian economy and society, but also is of interest to other developing countries, particularly in Sub-Saharan Africa. So that was the other reason why the IRIBA project has, as people will see from the papers, has at least an eye in terms of what kind of policies developed in Brazil. How could they be used to inform policy in other regions, and especially in Sub-Saharan Africa?
Yeah. But the successes, but there were also failures in Brazilian policy, so there are learning points that arise from some of the failures. For example, one of the papers looks at infrastructure, where there's generally agreed to be an enormous infrastructure deficit in Brazil, and we look at what are the reasons behind that, and what could other countries, especially countries in Africa, learn from those particular mistakes, as it were.